Agency owners have a ton to think about every single day, from serving clients to growing the business, leading the team, et cetera, et cetera. Then there's the back office grind. Things like reconciling commissions, payroll, tax prep, HR compliance, blah, blah, blah. It's all necessary, but incredibly time consuming. That's where our friends and partners over at Agency Point come in to help. Agency Point specializes in all the details agencies can't afford to ignore: accounting, tax, HR, and legal. They can even handle commission reconciliation so that nothing slips through the cracks. And if you've heard us talk, you know that this is one of the most important things that agencies must do. By managing the back office essentials, they free up agency leaders and their leadership team to focus on strategy, growth, and clients. An agency that works with them told us, Agency Point gave me back 10 hours a week. And now I spend that time building my business, knowing the foundation is solid. If you're looking for a trusted partner who can help lighten the load without competing for your strategy seat, check out Agency Point.
I don't think it's all about money. I think if you're going to spend 3 years with someone, which I did, or 10 or 5 or whatever the number is, you want to like those people too.
Welcome to the Insurance Refocused podcast, where we're highlighting real agent stories and how they are innovating to respond to the changes and challenges happening in the independent insurance industry. My name's Lindsay, and I can't wait to introduce you to my amazing co-host, who just so happens to be my mom, Carey Wallace. Mom, how you doing today?
I'm good, Lindsay. I am fresh off the plane from Iceland. I got my icebergs in. No northern lights, though, sadly. The northern lights eluded me, so that means I have to go back, basically. That's all that means. I have to travel again.
Wait, I guess I didn't even think about the northern lights being there. I thought about them being there, but I just assumed that you would see them. I didn't assume that it would be a situation in which you couldn't.
It was crazy. Iceland is the most bipolar country I've ever been in. Like, it's sunny and beautiful with blue skies, and then it is gray and rainy and overcast, and then you drive 10 more miles and it looks like the moon, and the next thing it looks like this unbelievable mountain range, and it's crazy. But we did not have weather at night that would allow us to see the northern lights, unfortunately. Yeah,
that's a big bummer. Okay. Well, your travel for the year is like dwindling down.
What am I going to do with myself? I don't know what to do when I'm at home. That's crazy, right?
You're going to move. That's what you're going to do.
I'm actually going to move houses. You're right. That's what you do when you have some off time, right? Yeah.
Well, even though our travel is dwindling down, I am really sad because we aren't, unfortunately, going to make it to one of our favorite events that we went to last year, which was the Little Sparks Gala. And I'll tell you what, that was a special event to go to. And our guest today is Raghav, who is one of the, do you call it a founder of a nonprofit? Is that the title?
I think so. I tell everyone my wife's the founder.
Perfect. Oh, okay. Yeah, but one of the founders. I'm so sad we're not going to make it. Seriously, though.
Me too.
We're going to miss you guys this year.
Yeah, it was such a special event. You guys did an amazing job. That view, holy cow. Like, I think you picked the best view in Boston. It might be, right? Is that considered the best?
It is the best view in Boston.
Man. So here's the deal. You changed the date. I had the date on my calendar, and either I missed what the actual date was, or you changed the date, and I committed myself to speak. So I feel terrible that we won't be there, but we will be there in spirit.
I appreciate you guys for supporting. I did change the date. So doing it that close to Christmas last year was really hard. And we're like, we have to put it closer to Thanksgiving, before Thanksgiving. And fortunately, we got more tickets sold this year too, which is awesome. We're completely sold out.
Yay, I love that. That's awesome. Well, I love that it was close to Christmas, because it was almost like my birthday celebration, that I got to go to Boston. I got to see some snow, and then I got to go back to South Carolina and be super happy in the warmth. You know, it was like a win. Anyway, but we will be there next year. As soon as you give us those dates, we will absolutely attend. For the people that don't know what Little Sparks is, will you give us just a quick overview of why you do it, what it is, and who it serves, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Little Sparks Project is a nonprofit that my wife and I started actually. And we started it because our son Brooks was born with a really rare medical condition called Apert syndrome. And the foundation actually has nothing to do with Apert syndrome. It's just rare medical diagnoses in general. But the whole premise was we were in the hospital and we met all these families who essentially couldn't afford to take care of their medically complex child. These families are more likely to be in debt. They lose stable income because the mom or dad has to quit their job and they have other children at home and they have to pay for childcare. And we started seeing the medical debt rack up for these families. We were talking to a few of the doctors in the hospital. One of them is the chief of complex care at Boston Children's, and we had a conversation with him, and he was just telling us the stories about all these families that needed help. Unfortunately, which is I think what we're going to talk about today, I was in a position to help these people because of Tarmika, and I have this thing that if I can do something about it, I want to be the person that does it. I don't want to wait for somebody else to do it. And so
Yeah.
my wife and I sat down one day and we said, "Hey, we should do this." And at first, it was just the two of us. You can't help that many families as two people. So we've scaled it quite a bit. We have 40 applications pending right now. We're hopefully going to get to all of them. And yeah, it's just grown so much, and we're just giving people grants, and our check sizes range between 15 and 20,000.
Wow, that's
awesome.
amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. I just think the families that I know personally that have had children who have medical needs that caused so much stress, and it's not the kids that create the stress, it's everything around it, the lack of being able to go to work and the lack of being able to be where you want to be, which is right next to your child. So what a gift to give to people that struggle with that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a parent, all you want to do is take care of your child, right? And so if you can't be there for them emotionally because you're worried about the financial impact, that's not fair to you or the child. And that was really what we're trying to remove.
Yeah, I love it. All right. So I met you when you were the founder of Tarmika, and I met you pretty early in that process,
Yeah.
if you recall correctly. But, and so I do want to talk about this. As you know, we have a podcast where we really want to help business owners learn from other business owners, whether it's insurance or any other business. I think you go through the same decision-making process as you're building your business, when you decide to sell your business, when you think about the next thing you want to go to and you want to build. But it's a process, and it's very much so an emotional process. It's not always a logical process. So I'd love to just talk about, number one, what made you build Tarmika, and give us a little bit of the ramp up. But then how did you know when it was time to sell Tarmika? That's really where I'm going with this.
Yeah, it's a good question. I've been an entrepreneur pretty much since I was born. I don't like working for other people. I don't like listening to other people. But I also love to build. I love building things from scratch. I love making things work. And the concept around Tarmika was I was actually having a conversation with my dad. I worked at Travelers at the time. I was right out of college, and we were talking about the complexity of commercial lines insurance, and I brought up the idea of a commercial lines rating platform, and what he told me was that 20 people had tried since 2004 to whatever year I started Tarmika, and no one's been successful doing it. And then I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go do it. And he's like, you know nothing about insurance, so come learn first. So I learned from him. I learned everything I could about insurance because in this space, that does matter. Agents want to know that you know what you're talking about if you're going to sell them. But I saw a vision. I had a vision of this platform, and fortunately, had the right people around us to make it work. You don't do any of this stuff by yourself. We had some amazing people on our team that helped us scale it and grow it. And to me, building something that's actually useful to an industry, especially people now that I consider my friends, is a really cool place to be. I think I built it because I wanted to make a difference in an industry. I think we did that. We had a lot of large customers on there. We had a lot of individual agencies on there, and to be honest, it was a ton of fun. I mean, for 7 years, I had more fun than I think anyone did working.
Yeah. So it was 7 years from the time you started Tarmika to when you sold Tarmika. Was it 7 years?
6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So tell me about that though, because here's the, I started in a startup as well. And when you have this thing and it's your baby, that's basically what it feels like. Even though I didn't start the company that was a startup, I was the seventh employee and we all felt like it was our baby. Like, you just so vested in the vision and building and making it what you want it to be. And then to think that you're going to sell the thing is hard. Like it's an
Yeah.
emotional thing. But how do you know when it's the right time? Like, what were the things that you weighed as you built this? Why the sixth year? Why not the ninth year or the 12th year or the 20th year? Like, what were the
Yeah.
things that made you get to that point?
It's funny because it was my baby. Like I loved it. And 2021, I had a baby. I
Ah,
think
you got a new
You
baby.
had a
Yeah.
new baby.
that's what did it. I was working probably 90 hours a week on this. Like I remember there was nights I would wake up, I would work
Mhm.
out, and I would go in my office in my house because it was right after COVID. It was like I think it was early 2021, and we had an office, but every Friday I'd work from my house. And I remember I worked out, I went into my office, and I was probably in there at 6:30 in the morning, and we had a kid by that point. And I was in that office. My wife brought me breakfast and lunch at one point. She brought me dinner. I was in that office that night until like 11:30. I don't think I saw my son once, other than a couple of times she handed him to me while she went to take a shower.
Mm.
And I think that was the moment where I said, okay, there's there's nothing I enjoy more than being a dad. That was the moment where I was like, I can't do this. You can't. When this kid gets older, he's going to ask me why I'm never around. And if I raise the next round, which is the thing we were between, was raise another round or sell. If I raise that next round, it would have been another 5 years, 4 years, and now he's 4.5. I would have missed all of that, and
Yeah.
I don't want to miss all of that. So to me,
Yeah.
it's different, right? Everyone has a different rationale for selling. For me, it was to spend time with my family. And as you probably saw, like I said, I half retired. I did that. I left Applied because, again, I felt like I was working a lot and it wasn't anyone's fault other than my own. When I'm in something, I want to do it all out. And again, I was missing things. I was missing soccer practices. When my second son, Brooks, I talked about, he had doctor's appointments. I was missing those. And I just wanted to be more present. So that's why we decided to sell.
How was that transition going from building, working for a family company, building, to you sold your company and now you're working for like a one of the largest insurance organizations there is. Was that weird to like have a boss, and did you have someone you reported to? Like how did all of that work?
I It was so weird.
Yeah.
It was such a transition. I will say, if you're gonna have a boss, I probably had the greatest boss ever. This guy Graham Blackwell, who was only my
Good.
boss for the first year, but you can't beat him. He's one of the greatest guys on the planet. You guys heard him speak at the gala last year, actually.
Did. He's good.
Um,
Yeah.
he's just a great guy. He's a good friend, and it was weird though. I mean, I think he would say it. I was kind of a punk. I was a problem. Like I challenged everything because I that's who I am. I like building things. I like starting from scratch. I like going 0 to 1, and Applied certainly isn't 0 to 1, right? Um, so it was hard, but I got used to it, and I actually enjoyed working there. I really did. Applied's building really cool tools. As you guys probably notice, all the announcements coming out. If you go to AppliedNet, you see them. They're they're obviously at the forefront. They have the best agencies and all that stuff. To me, though, that's not what I wanted. I did it for 3 years plus, a little over 3 years, and I wouldn't trade those 3 years because I learned so much about what I'm going to do when I build the next one. I learned how to build how to work in a large organization, how to build something bigger, how
Mhm.
to be super customer centric. I learned a lot. Would I do it again? I mean, I don't. If I had the same learnings a second time, maybe, but I don't know. I think it was worth every second I was there, but it definitely wasn't as easy as running your own business. Being the boss and building what you want is where my brain is. And I can't separate from that. It's really hard for me.
It's funny how you say that though, because that's part of this. If you're going to sell your business, it stays more valuable if you stay with it. Like there's a lot of agency owners that understand that as well. Like selling and leaving is one thing, but selling and staying is not as easy as it sounds, not just because you're not the boss, but you still had this vision. I understand you have your own child now, but your first baby is now in the hands of someone else. Your vision is now being massaged by someone else. And tell me what, in some ways, if you think about it, Apply's got resources, it's got staff, it's got already a huge market inside where you're trying to get into the marketplace. So in many ways, it looks like it can catapult much faster inside Applied, ideally, than what it could as a startup. Tell me what that was like watching change happen, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think what most tech founders, I won't get into the agency side, but what most tech founders get wrong. When they own their startup, that's their product, that's their only product. And so all of the energy goes to that one product. When you sell to someone like Applied, well, our product is like this. It's tiny in comparison to Epic, right? Or in some other products they're selling. That has to be their primary focus. And that's just the way it is. That doesn't mean that our product gets any worse. It just means that it's not the primary focus anymore. When that's not the primary focus, even as the founder of that business, it's no longer my primary focus. My focus is on making Applied better because that's the team I'm on. And so I think that's kind of the way it works, is that's a feature within a much larger organization. And so it does catapult. Sales increased a ton when we sold. Adoption was tremendous when we first sold because people were like, oh, this is exciting. But then reality sets in and it's like, well, hey, Epic is the main product. And here's all the things that we need to focus on as a company. And that's just what happens. So even for me, as the person who loved Tarmika, that was my every day for 6 years. My brain starts to go to, okay, how can Epic get better? How can Applied as an organization be better? What are the things that I can make an impact on? And a lot of times it's not going to be Tarmika. And that's a hard thing for founders to realize. This is why I brought up when I had a baby, it was just different for me because I still love Tarmika. I really did. But it wasn't, to me, it wasn't like, okay, this has to be my primary focus. It was, how do I make Applied better? How am I a better team player? How do I do this stuff better? And I don't know. I think that's just what happens when you sell. And I think it does happen to agency owners as well. If you own an agency that's $1 million, $2 million in revenue or less, and you sell to someone who's $1 billion in revenue, well, hey, the $1-2 million clients are no longer the most important people in the world. And that's going to be a hard pill to swallow, but you have to do what's best for the organization if you stay.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very, very true.
I think it lends itself to finding the right buyer for you, right? Like for an agency that's 2 million in revenue selling, if they sell to a $4 million revenue, an agency, right? Like that gap is going to be much easier. You're not always selling to the $2 billion. How did you, I'm not asking to tell me who other potential buyers might have been, but how did you decide that Applied was the right home?
So I can't talk about that. We had an acquisition offer previously. I'm not going to say who it was or what happened, but for whatever reason, it didn't work out. Right. And I think the way Applied handled that process, knowing that previous one fell through and pretty much at the last minute, it was a no-brainer for me. I mean, there's other companies that obviously were involved and made offers, but the way that it was handled from beginning to end was so professional, clean. They did right by me and the team, and I don't think it's all about money. I think if you're going to spend 3 years with someone, which I did, or 10 or 5 or whatever the number is, you want to like those people too. And I could tell from day one when they came in, I was going to like them. And that's what did it for me. And like I said, thank God, because when Brooks was born, he was in the hospital for so long. I remember I got an email from Graham at the time, and it was essentially like, hey, whatever you need, we're here. Like that's really all you want to hear. Whereas I think most companies would say, well, what's your
Yeah.
timeline for coming back? And that's unfortunate,
Yeah.
but that's just life. And I didn't get that.
Yeah.
So like I made the right decision. Everything that happened since then. They're our diamond sponsor at the gala 2 years in a row. Even though I don't work there anymore, they're still our diamond sponsor. So you clearly made the right decision.
It's funny, you make everybody, whether they know it or not, you do business with the people you know, like, and trust. There's just no way around that. And if you don't know someone, like them, or trust them, there's regret. You're going to look in the rearview mirror and you're going to have some kind of regret because you either didn't do the due diligence, you didn't take the time, or you didn't go with, you let something else cloud other than, do I know, like, and trust this person, and or this organization, or who they stand for, etc. So I know what got you ready for your sale, but what about the business? How did you know when your business was ready for a sale and not the next raise or the next thing, or that, because that's a very addictive thing. Anybody who's an entrepreneur knows how addictive it is to, you see it on the horizon, you know, you can get there, you've done all the things you need to do, it's right there, or we could sell. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? That's unfortunately how I view it. Maybe you don't, but that's how I view it.
No, it's very attractive to see what's on the horizon, what you could do, what you could be, and I think it's a hard decision to make. I'll tell you when I thought the business was ready. I thought the business was ready when we got to the point where I felt like I could no longer scale the business the way I wanted to without the right strategic hires. Um, and I was having a hard time making the right strategic hires. I'd interviewed a whole bunch of people for the next role, and I couldn't find the people that I thought could take the business to the next level. Because as a founder, as a CEO, you can pretty much never do it yourself. You probably do 1% of the work, right? It's your job to cast a vision, to cast a strategy, but everyone else is going to execute on it. And I think we needed to take the next jump. And I'm not sure we would have been able to do so without finding some better people. And that was taking way too long. And I think once we got to Applied, they found a whole bunch of great people. And sometimes you just have access. Now, if I were to go back in time and say, could I do it this time? I think now the network has grown so much that I would be able to find the right people. But at the time, I just didn't have it. I was still young. I still am, I think. But at the time, I was 29, and I was having a hard time finding the right people, and that was
Mhm.
part of it.
Yeah, newsflash, you're still young, just so you know. Like, and that's a definite yes right there. It's really. So what happened after? So you said you partially retired. What does that mean to you or to everyone else? Because I'm just viewing this as from a business owner's mindset. You've got this baby, you have a vision, you build it, you get to the point where you think, I don't know, there's a crossroads, I'm going to sell. Oftentimes people stop right there because they can't see what's next. Like, they have a hard time picturing, and maybe they're not 29. Maybe they're 59, maybe they're 69, like maybe they're whatever. And that causes them to hold and actually sell low, not high, because they hold too long,
Too
right?
long.
So tell me how you saw what was next. Now, part of it was fatherhood for you, but like, what's next
Yeah.
career wise, right?
So here's what's funny about all the business owners that are like, I can't see what's next after I start my business. You didn't know what your business was going to be when you started it. So sell it and then go do whatever's next because you're going to think of it later. And that's so when I left, I didn't really have that much of a plan. I did have a couple ideas, but to me, what's next wasn't obvious. I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I was going to spend a lot of time with my kids, which I have. But the reality is, what got you to start the first business is what's going to get you to do the next thing anyway. Even if you're 59 or 69, my dad talks about this all the time. I hope he listens to this because it's pretty funny. He sold his agency to Hub in 2021. He still produces business for Hub. And when I ask him why he hasn't retired yet, he says, I don't know what's next. I'm like, well, you didn't know what was next 20 years ago when you started this. You didn't know what was next when you sold to Hub. You never really know what's next. You just do it and you figure it out later.
Yeah.
And his argument is, well, I'm almost 70. I can't figure it out later. Yeah, you can. You can always figure it out later. I
Yeah.
think I think the reality is entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs regardless of what happens. They are strategic thinkers and they're risk takers, and they will figure out what's next. And so if anyone is scared to sell their business, it forces you to figure out what's next. It forced me to figure out what's next. So now I've launched 2 businesses, right? Which I'll announce in the next couple months.
Yeah.
But I didn't actually retire. I planned on taking 6 months off, and I took 2, which does not make my family overly happy, but I did it. At least I took 2 off.
There you go.
Yeah. So I want to talk about your family for just a minute, if you don't mind, because I think that's also really important in this whole, as listen, I think every entrepreneur has an incredible rock or solid or stable environment around them, because we're anything but that's true, right? So,
Mhm.
and they provide the ability to take risks and do things. So does your success. Don't get me wrong, but not every entrepreneur has an exit like Tarmika. Let's just be real, right? Like not everybody has that. Sometimes you try, fail, try, fail, try, fail, try, win, try, fail, right? So
Yeah.
tell me about your family. Like what does that look like in your world?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've said this to everyone. I have an amazing family. When I started Tarmika, I think most people know the story. My wife Megan was the main investor, so all of her money, I mean, like every dollar she had, went into our business. And when we would go to bars in those early years, we would walk because we couldn't afford an Uber. I'd buy one Bud Light because that's all I could afford. I mean, like we we had a previous success, but a lot of that was invested, right? And we didn't want to touch it because, if you take all of that money and
Right.
put it back into something, you could get screwed. And so she put all her money in. And honestly, if you think about that, that's the utmost faith in someone that it's going to work out. And if someone has that much trust in you, you got to have it in yourself. And so I have that. I
Yeah.
also, like, my dad was an entrepreneur, right? And probably the most supportive person on the planet. So I have that going for me. Everything just worked out, and I'll spend my life trying to repay these people for how they helped me be successful. But that matters more than anything else. I don't care how smart you are, how good you are at what you do, how much money you have. It really doesn't matter if you don't have someone that can support you and get you through those hard times, because you're going to have them as a business owner. Everyone does.
Yeah. Oh, if you don't, you're not doing it you're probably not pushing very hard if you're not going to have that, right?
And then your business probably isn't very good anyway.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So if someone's listening to this, because you have the luxury, let's just say, or you're in a position where you can look in the rearview mirror and you can reflect on this particular sale, other things you've built, tried, whatever. What advice would you give to someone that feels like they're sitting at a crossroads? Like what advice would you say, here are the things that I would challenge you to think about or challenge you to consider as you're considering what your next step is, whether it's to sell, whether it's to go out and build start a company, whatever it is. What advice would you give?
I would say this. I would say that whatever you think will make you the happiest is what you should do. And that's a hard thing to think about. But if you're sitting there and you think not managing payroll every week is going to make me exceptionally happy, but I still want to work in this business, we'll sell and stay on. If you think hanging out with my grandchildren or my kids is going to make me the happiest, we'll sell and don't stay on. And if you think that working for someone else is a drag, take the risk. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but you can't say you didn't try. I think that's what matters. Happiness is above all else. And if it makes you happy, you should do it. That's my advice to everybody.
Yeah, I agree with that. So
I
funny.
love
I
that
just went on
advice.
this trip with really good friends of mine, and one, she's an entrepreneur. She runs um, an equestrian organization that trains people how to connect with other human beings using horses as the facilitation. And her husband works at a very huge organization, Siemens, which is, they he does print parts for really cool, different things. But I'm talking massive versus tiny and very, passion oriented. And it's actually the description of my husband and I. Kevin was with Oracle for years, like doesn't get much bigger than that. And I've been the largest company I've been part of had 40 employees. Like that's it. Like, and now I run a company of 7. Like it's so different, but I agree with you. You got to do what makes you happy. I'd be so unhappy without a purview where I could see it all and influence it in a pretty significant way. Whereas they're more than happy with doing the roles and very successful people, but you got to find your own happiness. And my happiness isn't yours and yours isn't mine. And it's certainly not Lindsay's. And you really can't look to others. You got to look to yourself and then make sure you surround yourself with the right people for sure. Right. Yeah.
100%. And you got to surround yourself with the people that are going to make you better. You're going to be good at a couple things. They're going to be good at everything else. And that's the way of the world. I think that's what matters though.
It is.
If you don't do what makes you happy, you're going to put yourself in a really terrible spot in 10 years.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to hear about your announcements of these other companies that you took all of, 3 months off and now you're back at it. I love it. That's amazing.
It's not entirely my fault. It fell in my lap. I blame other people. It just happened.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for coming on and sharing your story. I'm sure we will be talking to you again soon. And I appreciate all the support you've given to this industry and to families that need your support in a significant way. It's pretty impressive, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Carey. Thank you, Lindsay.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Insurance Refocused podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please be sure to hit subscribe and leave us a review so you'll never miss us. Want to learn more about how Agency Focus can help you grow your agency? Head to agency-focus.com or email Carey directly at carey@agency-focus.com. If you need to get in touch with me, feel free to shoot me an email at lindsay@agency-focus.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.